If you went through years of school, took dozens of tests, and sat through countless lessons, you probably left with a head full of knowledge about history, science, literature, and maybe even some advanced math. But despite all of that, one subject was glaringly absent: how to manage, grow, and understand money. Think about it. Schools teach you how to solve for x in an equation, memorize the periodic table, and analyze old literature, but they don't teach you how to file taxes, build wealth, invest, or avoid debt traps. The very things that dictate your future financial success, things you will deal with every single day of your life, are never part of the curriculum. And yet, money affects everything. It determines where you live, what opportunities you have, how much stress you feel, and even how long you work before you can retire. A lack of financial knowledge keeps people trapped in cycles of debt, living paycheck to paycheck, and never truly getting ahead. But it doesn't have to be this way. If schools had actually prepared us for real life, here's what they should have taught us about money. The first lesson should have been about how money actually works. Most people go through life thinking that money is just something you earn, spend, and hope you have enough of. But that's not how the wealthy think. They understand that money is a tool, one that can work for you or against you, depending on how you use it. Instead of just earning money and spending it, the wealthy put their money to work. They use it to buy assets that generate more money, things like stocks, real estate, or businesses. Schools should have taught us that every dollar is like a little employee. If you put it in the right place, it works 24/7, earning more money for you without you having to trade your time for it. But what did schools do? They prepared us for a life of earning and spending. They taught us how to work hard for money, but never how to make money work for us. Another critical lesson should have been about debt, how to use it wisely and how to avoid the traps. Instead, most people leave school completely clueless about interest rates, credit scores, and how borrowing money really works. And guess who takes advantage of that ignorance? Banks, credit card companies, and lenders who profit from people making uninformed financial decisions. Imagine if schools had explained how compound interest works, not just in the form of saving, but also in how debt can trap you. A $5,000 credit card balance with a high interest rate can turn into $10,000 if you only make minimum payments. Student loans, which so many young people take on without fully understanding the consequences, can follow you for decades if you don't have a solid repayment plan. Instead of warning us, the education system sends students straight into a world where they take on debt without realizing the long-term impact. And by the time they figure it out, it's often too late. Another thing schools completely failed to teach was how to build multiple streams of income. They conditioned us to believe that the only way to make money is through a job, where you trade your time for a paycheck. But if that were true, why do so many wealthy people own businesses instead of working for one? Why do they invest in assets that generate passive income? If you rely on a single paycheck, you are one emergency, one layoff, or one crisis away from financial disaster. The truth is, real financial stability comes from having multiple sources of income, whether that's from investments, side businesses, or assets that generate cash flow. But instead of teaching students how to create these income streams, schools prepare them to follow a standard path. Go to college, get a job, work for decades, and hope they can retire comfortably. The problem is, that path is no longer reliable. Jobs are uncertain, wages aren't keeping up with inflation, and people are finding out the hard way that depending on just one source of income is a huge risk. Another lesson that should have been covered? Taxes and how to legally pay less of them. The tax system is designed in a way that benefits those who understand its rules. Wealthy people use tax strategies to keep more of their money, while most people overpay because they don't know any better. Schools should have taught us about deductions, tax credits, and how business owners and investors legally pay lower taxes than employees. Instead, most people are left figuring it out on their own, often when it's too late to take advantage of key opportunities. Then there's investing, something that should have been a required subject. Schools made it seem like investing was something only rich people did or something that was too complicated for the average person to understand. But in reality, investing is the only reliable way to grow wealth over time. If we had learned in school how to consistently invest in low-cost index funds, how compound interest grows wealth exponentially, and how starting early is the key to financial success, most people would be in a much better position today. Instead, many don't start investing until their 30s or 40s, losing years of potential growth. Another thing we should have been taught? How to spot financial scams and bad money advice. Every day, people lose money to get rich quick schemes, bad investments, and misleading financial gurus who profit from selling dreams instead of real solutions. If schools had emphasized financial literacy, fewer people would fall for these traps. The biggest failure of the education system when it comes to money is that it doesn't teach people to think like owners instead of workers. The system trains people to be employees, to follow instructions, and to accept the idea that working for someone else for decades is the only way to live. But the people who truly succeed financially are the ones who own, whether it's businesses, investments, or assets that appreciate over time. So, if schools failed to teach you about money, what can you do now? The good news is, you don't need a classroom to learn these things. You can start today by educating yourself, reading about investing, understanding how taxes work, creating multiple income streams, and making sure your money works for you instead of the other way around. The sad truth is, the education system isn't designed to make you wealthy. It's designed to make you a good worker. But once you recognize that, you can take control of your financial future. The sooner you do, the sooner you can break free from the cycle that keeps most people trapped and start building real financial independence.